Members of the board, good evening. Let me welcome you to a special board meeting today here in Vancouver at the headquarters of Teck Metals. In today's meeting, Mr. William Lloyd, our Chief Ibecc Officer, and myself, Virginia Muchay, the CEO of Teck Metals, will go into more detail and brief you about the ethical issues we are facing at Teck Metals. As you might remember from our last meeting, we have a matter of irresponsible business behavior with a price tag of $2.8 billion, which we encountered in the past 2 decades. We need you to make a decision today about the future of Teck Metals. The contamination issue of Lake Roosevelt has been going on for 65 years. At our Trail smelter in British Columbia in Canada, our facilities have discharged more than 10 million tons of slag into the Columbia River. These contaminants flowed down directly into Lake Roosevelt in the US. The impact study, which we were required to conduct, proved that the water contains excessive mercury, which is dangerous to the health of humans. Now, the people rightly pose the question whether it is safe to drink the water, whether they can swim in it, or eat the fish. Unfortunately, the answer to all these 3 questions is no, it is not safe. Our approach to dealing with this contamination issue has been more of a reactive until now. For 2 decades, we managed basically not to deal with this issue. First, because we didn't consider it to be an issue, and then we figured, being a Canadian company, the US law does not apply to us. In 1994, we were first made aware of the contamination of Lake Roosevelt. It took us around 5 years to actually acknowledge that there was something going on. It took us another additional 7 years to start investigating our facilities. It took us 12 years to look and say that, yes, we did something wrong. We admitted our mistakes. And in 2012, last year, after 18 years passed, we actually lost the lawsuit of Lake Roosevelt with a $2.8 billion financial impact in our books. Our Chief Financial Officer will go into more detail and tell you more about it.
Thank you, Ms. Muchay. So thank you again. Glad I could come back and have a little bit more detail on what we're going to talk about. So truly the true impact of what's happened here in the heart of the ethical issue is we just did not own the situation that we have caused. And the problem with that is it has caused other impacts elsewhere in our communities. So one of the key elements of that I want to point out is the ethical officer is what the issues were and then what we propose to do about it. So as you heard, we obviously caused some pollution. In itself, an ethical problem. But that by itself is not really the heart of the matter. For example, the one things I want to highlight is that our company policies, which we have many of for sustainability, environment, being a corporate citizen, so on and so forth, they're not very well connected. They're not, historically, they've not been very well integrated. And most importantly, they have what I call wiggle room, evasive wording that truly leaves escape clauses, excuses for us as a company to not perform. So that's allowed this kind of behavior to go on, which combined with legal loopholes, we've been more or less taking advantage of the ability to pollute across borders. Why has this occurred? Because we were afraid of negative press. We didn't want to have our names on the front page of the New York Times or in CNN, like with the BP oil spill. Also because we didn't want to have to deal with millions of dollars of fines and legal judgments against us in court and have those court decisions to be used as future, future precedents against us. And then financially, we did not want to have to plan for or pay for potential liability for those situations. So those are the reasons why, but even worse than that are the impacts that we cause. Impacts such as problems with the environment, poisoning of the water, poisoning of the fish, and actually affecting the community and the health of the people that live there. So what that boils down to is, as a company, an ethical company, we should not let these impacts go on and continue. So the recommendations that we have brought to the table that we want to discuss in a bit more detail today and to have our board approve is what allows us to truly take ownership as a company and drive that behavior going forward. What we need to do is finally, once and for all, resolve the cleanup issues that we have, the cleanup activity to resolve what we have put in place. Clean up that pollution, resolve what we need to with the communities, and be able to be sure that we are done with it. And after that, we can truly move forward. And going forward, have everything infrastructure-wise to be an ethical company. So what would that be? Essentially, a little short-term investment in some of this infrastructure is going to help provide long-term business success, because there's a direct link between being an ethical company and long-term business success. So that being the case, we have what we're calling our 3-tier action plan, which ties together a lot of the disconnects that we had in the past, brings them together, and adds detail and enforcement to it. The 3-tier action plan starts with internally, what are we going to do? Which is we're going to be more proactive and preventive in what we say and what we do. We'll start with our operations and make sure we have the technology in place to actually prevent pollution. If accidents occur, have an early warning mechanism so operations shut down, so we can prevent pollution from leaking out to the community. It's contained. Also with our company policies, what I hinted at a moment ago is to make those stronger. Instead of wiggle words that attempt to drive the right behavior, we will drive the right behavior with saying things such as we commit to prevent dirtying the water or polluting the environment. And that's the bar that we will perform to. So along the lines of the second tier of this 3-tier action plan would be collective action. We will work with industry associations and our own concepts of what best practices should be, and identify those and implement those ourselves. Instead of bad practices of our past, have best practices going forward. Once we have those implemented, then we can drive that behavior through these same industry associations and lead the way for others to follow what we have set in place. And then finally, with our communities, the third leg of our 3-tier action plan would be to show we are directly and actively engaged with them. Not just that there's some group of people that we have to cater to, but that we want them to know that we are actively involved for their best interest. And if they have concerns, they come to us. 2 main points for that would be to have a hotline in place so they can contact us anytime with a real concern or a perceived concern. And then to have a community relations officer at every location that we have operations in. That person would have the sole responsibility of working directly with that community to take care of any issues that they may have with us. So with that being the 3 tiers of our action plan, we can implement that and truly drive being an ethical company and walking the talk of what we say we have in place and making it really happen for our business to be an ethical business. So that's our recommendations. And do a bit of a summary.
Yes, thank you, Mr. White. Going forward, we as the management team are convinced that we need to change the way we're doing business. We need to change because being ethical will create and drive shareholder value. It just makes business sense. Looking forward, we want to transform Tech Metals into a best-in-class company, a company you and us can be proud of, a company who's responsible, a company who's leading by example, and a company who's a good corporate citizen. Therefore, you as a board, we ask you to cast your vote in favor of implementing the 3-tier action plan. So implementing a new way of an ethical business culture. Thank you.